I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. And I'm going to share up the PowerPoint. I'm going to start with a PowerPoint presentation. Of course, welcome to the 45th anniversary of Ink and Clay. This is our Sapphire anniversary. I just welcome you all. And I want to start off today by sharing a letter with you all. I was thinking a lot about 9/11 today or yesterday when I was preparing things. And I came upon this letter that was written by Laura Lott, the president and CEO of the American Alliance of Museums. And she sent it out to all the members of the Alliance, which I'm a part of. And so the following is an interweaving of two letters, one dated yesterday, the eve of the 25th anniversary of 9/11 by Laura Lott, from American Alliance of Museums. And the other is my thoughts and my letter as well, my letter to you from me. For those of you who are present today at the 45th anniversary of Ink and Clay, that also happens to be on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Laura Lott begins her letter with, in Washington, D.C., the beautiful, crisp, bright blue sky on the eve of the anniversary of 9/11 yesterday was a very reminiscent of the morning 20 years ago, and a sobering reminder of how quickly and dramatically life can change. Recent media coverage commemorating the 20th anniversary of 9/11 has had me pondering what it is exactly we should never forget. She goes on to talk about her child and, the way that I could relate to that. This is now me talking. Was what is it important for a child, a first, second, or third grader to know, for whom 9/11 is seemingly ancient history? It's not something anyone younger than 20 has experienced in person. My staff here today, most of which are 20 or younger, did not experience that day the way we older folks did. So how do they relate to this the same way for those of us who are older do? I have a 4-year-old niece whose only concern is that she wants to dress up as Vanellope von Schweetz for Halloween. What will I tell her about this day when she's old enough to understand? Um, Now back to Laura's letter. Certainly, we should never forget to pay tribute to the thousands of innocent people who died in the attacks in the following years from the toxic air and debris they inhaled and the war that followed. I hope you will join me in taking a moment to reflect on their sacrifice. So I too want to take this opportunity today, this is now me speaking, um, to uh, to have a moment of silence in tribute of all those who perished tragically that fateful Tuesday morning, and their families who have had to bear the weight of their loss for all these years and will continue to for many more. To the first responders who bravely sacrificed themselves and or who continue to live with the aftermath. To those brave soldiers that went to war and those who fought and died, to those who suffered lifelong injuries in body, mind, and soul as a result. To those who remain affected every day by the results of this war and saddening recent series of events in Afghanistan, as we have withdrawn from this war 20 years later. Please let us pause in silence and homage to all those who are impacted by this day 20 years ago and every day since. I just want to take just a few moments to pause. So back again to Laura's letter. While we saw the worst of humanity on 9/11, 2001, and the terrorists and the anti-Muslim and anti-Middle East xenophobia that followed, we also saw the best in humanity as a result. Much like we see today in those frontline workers dealing with a seemingly endless pandemic, I am certain that we all are always in awe of first responders and the selfless service and true bravery of those who run into danger while most of us would run away. Like the healthcare practitioners throughout this pandemic, and like the first responders who rushed to wildfires fires out here in the West, to the earthquake in Haiti, and to Louisiana, and all along the devastating path northward of Hurricane Ida. The first responders on 9/11, just like many of these first responders today, all demonstrated the best of humanity in all its forms. In all its forms, I am convinced that service to others is our highest calling. And so now for me, I agree with Laura's letter. Um, Today and every day, I see what I do and what I have dedicated myself to as a museum and arts professional is my service to others and is my highest calling. Those of you here today are also following your calling, dedicating yourselves to your craft, to the arts, and sharing this with the academic institution and the world as virtually as we are today. This is also a valuable service to others, a calling. For many of you, education is also your calling, as it is for me. No one else says you have to limit yourself to just one calling, after all. So I thank you. I thank you for being here today with me and with my staff to share your calling, your work, your lives with me on such an important day. Laura Locke continues in her letter to say, and I'm inspired by the role of museums and academic galleries in helping us heal, continue to learn and grow, and preserve the stories and their lessons for generations to come. From museums and galleries' immediate responses and support of victims' families immediately following the attacks to the 20th anniversary commemorations sponsored by many museums and galleries across the country today, these museums are filling important roles in a healthy, connected, and informed society. Now back to me. Some have asked me why schedule this event, the 25th anniversary of Ink and Clay, on 9/11. Well, to tell you the truth, I felt that it was important to share this day with others who share the same desires to tell the truth and raise their voices through their calling. Art is a visual language, a visual language. It is a language, it is a visual language, and that has the ability to communicate in ways that no other language can. It can communicate to others who cannot speak the same verbal language as ourselves. It can communicate to those who have difficulty communicating at all. It can affect change, create new ways of thinking, build understanding, and allow for exchange of ideas in ways in which words alone cannot do. It makes one feel something that someone else might be feeling, think something someone else might be thinking, spark a new idea in yourself, have a sense of humor with art, play with innuendo, make historical commentary, educate, and change minds, or reiterate what you already see as true. It can help put each other in one another's shoes, in one another's histories, in one another's lives in order to better understand one another. Share stories with one another, share emotions and ideas. This year, we asked you all to combine the use of ink and clay and or both in combination with the theme, the art of type, where text, typography, symbols, and language could be used in visual art media to communicate fine art in a special and different, diverse, and inclusive way. And you did, very successfully, in fact. This was the first time I have seen all three jurors gravitate to many of the same works as the top choice awards unanimously. They also had a plethora of individual choices, some that were unanimous, others that 2 out of 3 jurors agreed upon at different instances. They have as many as 20 plus recommendations for purchase awards to be made by the university in fall of 2022, when those are hopefully announced in person at the on-site venue and physical iteration of what you will experience today. That says so much about the quality and dedicated effort made by all of the selected artists presented today. And to commemorate these two events together, 9/11 and our 45th Sapphire anniversary, however different that they may seem, is a way of doing just that. Remembering is important. Knowing our calling, raising a voice, and following through by via action is just as important. And I believe this last year and 9 months, if anything, has taught us just that. Last year, we lost one of our longtime benefactors and supporters, Bruce Jewett. Bruce Jewett always looked forward to ink and clay, as he had for many years since 1971, when ink and clay first started. He and Colonel Jim Jones, an alum of Cal Poly Pomona, were fervent supporters of ink and clay. Colonel Jones began the long-term support of Ink and Clay by buying works from Ink and Clay each year and then later donating these to Cal Poly Pomona as the beginning of the Ink and Clay collection. He also establishes an endowment to support this annual effort. Bruce Jewis continued the practice by supporting financially each year since the Colonel's passing and selecting purchase awards in the name of Colonel Jones through the Memorial Purchase Award in his honor. Upon Mr. Jewett's passing, he created an endowment to continue the granting of this award in memory and name of Colonel Jones for perpetuity. I'd like to take a moment to honor Bruce Jewett for his generosity and selfless act. We as an institution will honor him, and I will always remember him fondly. Once again, I want to refer to Laura Lott's letter. Finally, the thing I remember the most about the weeks following 9/11 is how people came together to support each other, even complete strangers. People in buildings in New York City who had never spoken before, only glimpsed occasionally in the elevator or access across down the hall to one another, began to check in with one another, got to know one another. Much like we have during the pandemic, younger neighbors called in on elderly neighbors to make sure they had things they needed and enough food to get by. They bought an extra food at the store to share. Friends and family from outside the country called just to check in on how we're doing and just talk for the first time in years. Since planes were all grounded in the days following the 9/11 attacks, a man came out of retirement to drive for a car service in New York City. He and a colleague drove a group of Californians who were stranded in New York and desperate to get home. They drove across country, only stopping for gas and food. One driver slept while the other drove, and they switched every few hours. Countless similar examples of people coming together in times of crisis gives me hope that even as divided as things feel right now across the country, we can come back together. We can stop letting distrust and invisible forces divide us, focusing instead on what really matters and doing simple things to take care of each other, like masking, getting vaccinated, and encouraging others to do so to save lives and livelihoods. Laura again further says, thank you for your hard work and dedication to the field and to sharing your calling to your communities. Your work contributes to making the world better and building a brighter future. And for me, I too thank you. You who are dedicated to the arts, visual artists, and the fine arts educators. I thank you for your dedication to your calling, for risking it all to share yourselves, your thoughts, your lives, your craft, which in turn serves to inspire me and others every day. Without you, we are lost. Laura Locke closes with, I wish you peaceful and meaningful reflection this weekend. And I too, as the curator of the Kellogg University Art Gallery, Michelle Corella, Fillmore likewise do.